Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to week 15 here on Pub Quiz 60. 15th week of lockdown, 15th week of quizzes. So hopefully you're all still well and surviving the lockdown. I think without further ado, we'll go on with the quiz. It's the same rules as before, so I think we can go straight into the quiz rules. Pen and paper as ever, 5 rounds of 10 questions, point for each question, and a bonus question each round as well, making a total of 60 points available for the whole quiz. The first 3 rounds, we'll do. Then we'll mark those and have a quick break before we come back to the last 2 rounds as well to get an idea of scores. The live chat I'll switch off now just for the quiz duration, but then I'll switch it on during the 5-minute break and at the end for you to pop your comments on and pop your scores on in particular as well. It's always good to see what scores people get. I think this week's quite a difficult one, so any scores 45 plus I think will be a good score. Anything 50 plus, absolutely superb. Anything in the 40s will be a good score. But I think without further ado, we'll go straight into the quiz. Try and keep it to 1 hour, hopefully, in duration. And round 1 this week is geography. And question 1 in geography is: what is the most recent state to be added to the USA? What is the most recent state to be added to the USA? Now, at the end of each round, just as a reminder, there is a minute's thinking time I'll give just to finalise any answers you're unsure of. So if you're not sure on a question at the moment, just jot it down on the side of your paper. You can always come back to it in that thinking time. But we'll try and go along at a good speed, try and keep it to within the hour. So moving on to question 2 in geography, and it is: name either of the 2 South American countries that have no coastline. Name either of the 2 South American countries that have no coastline. And just while we're settling in, just to remind you, we'll do these first 3 rounds, and then we'll mark the first 3 rounds before we have a 5-minute comfort break, and then we'll come back after that and do the final 2 rounds, final marking, get an idea of final scores and who's won. But moving on, question 3 in geography is: what is the longest river in Australia? What is the longest river in Australia? Again, if you're not sure of these, just jot them down at the side of your paper. We won't be going over the questions at the end of each round, but there is that minute's thinking time. Question 4 in geography. Which 2 London boroughs begin with the letter E? Which 2 London boroughs begin with the letter E? Moving on, question 5. Which European town gave its name to a treaty that symbolises closer economic links between European countries? Which European town gave its name to a treaty that symbolises closer economic links between European countries? Now, it's worth mentioning at this stage, all the questions are 1-point questions, but in each round, after question 5, there is a bonus question for 2 points when it comes to marking that's some way related to the answers or the information in question 5. And the bonus question for the geography round, again for 2 points when it comes to marking these, is: in what year was this treaty signed? In what year was this treaty signed? So that refers back to the treaty in question 5 that symbolises closer economic links between European countries. What year was this treaty signed? And I'll give you 1 year either side. 2 points when it comes to marking these later on. And back to the single point questions again though. Question 6 in geography for 1 point. Bridgetown is the capital of which Caribbean island? Bridgetown is the capital of which Caribbean island? So again, just 1 point for that. And moving on, question 7. Magyar is the official language of which country? Magyar is the official language of which country? And we'll move along to try and keep the good pace up. As I say, I want to try and keep it to within an hour here on a Tuesday evening, an hour for the whole quiz, including breaks. So question 8 in round 1, geography, is: which is the largest US state? Which is the largest US state? Just 2 more to go in the first round. Question 9 in geography is: in which European city is the headquarters of the Red Cross? In which European city is the headquarters of the Red Cross? And that brings us to the last question in round 1, and it is: on which island does the city of Copenhagen stand? On which island does the city of Copenhagen stand? So that takes us to the end of round 1 geography. Like I say, at the end of each round, we'll now have a minute to finalise any answers that you're unsure of, or any questions you weren't sure of. So if you've jotted anything down at the side of your paper, this is the time now just to make those final answers so that nothing's left blank. So we'll pop a minute on the clock now, then we'll come back and start round 2. But a minute on the clock, starting now. Okay, so that's a minute's thinking time over for that first round on geography, but there is a minute's thinking time again at the end of rounds 2 and 3, so there's still time to come back to any geography questions perhaps you're unsure of before we do the marking of those first 3 rounds. But we'll move on to round 2, and round 2 this week is music. And the first question in the music round is, who is the only artist ever to have won the Mercury Prize more than once? Who is the only artist ever to have won the Mercury Prize more than once? So as with the first round, if you're unsure of any answers at this stage, then just jot down a note at the side of your paper. We won't be going over the questions again, but there is that minute's thinking time at the end. So to keep the pace going, we'll move on. Question 2 in music is, name the singer who is the only person to have ever performed more than one James Bond theme song. Name the singer who is the only person to have performed more than one James Bond theme song. And on to question 3. Liverpool FC's signature song, You'll Never Walk Alone, stems from which musical? Liverpool FC's signature song, You'll Never Walk Alone, stems from which musical? Question 4 in the music round is, which piece of music accompanied Torval and Dean to Olympic gold success in 1984? Which piece of music accompanied Torval and Dean to Olympic gold success in 1984? Question 5 in the music round is, BTS, also known as the Bangtan Boys, are a boy band from which country? BTS, also known as the Bangtan Boys, are a boy band from which country? So as per the first round as well, there'll be a bonus question after this for 2 points when it comes to marking. It's in some way related to question 5. And that bonus question in the music round for 2 points is, how many members are there in the band? How many members are there in the band BTS? So as a reminder, it's 2 points when it comes to marking those. All the bonus questions worth 2 points. But back to the single point questions again. Question 6 in music. Who was the lead singer with The Animals? Who was the lead singer with The Animals? So 1 point for question 6 there, after the bonus question. 1 point questions. Moving on, again another single point question. Question 7. The march, entitled Liberty Bell by Sousa, was the title music for which TV comedy programme? The march, entitled Liberty Bell by Sousa, was the title music for which TV comedy programme? Just 3 questions remaining in round 2, so we go on to question 8 in the music round, and it is: which actor and singer was born David Cook in Plaistow in 1947? Which actor and singer was born David Cook in Plaistow in 1947? Two questions to go before we have a minute's thinking time again. Question 9 in music is: which current star of EastEnders represented the UK in the Eurovision Song Contest of 1991? Which current star of EastEnders represented the UK in the Eurovision Song Contest of 1991? At this stage as well, when it's worth mentioning, when it comes to marking, try not to be too strict on spellings or any typos. If it looks like the answer, or it sounds like it looks like the answer, then it's worth giving the points. If you are marking for other people, that is, or marking yourself, spelling, at the end of the day, not being that important on these. At the end of the day, is just for fun. And now, let's move on to the last question in round 2 music. Question 10. Which former One Direction member released Watermelon Sugar and Adore You? Which former One Direction member released Watermelon Sugar and Adore You? And that brings us to the end of round 2, the music round. As per the geography round now, we'll have a minute's thinking time just to finalise any answers you're unsure of before we come back to do round 3, the picture round, and after which then we'll go into marking at the halfway stage. But a minute on the clock now just to finalise answers for round 2 music. Minute on the clock. Okay, so that's a minute's thinking time over for the music round. We'll now just have one more round, round 3, before we go into marking at the halfway stage. Now, round 3 this week, again, is a picture round, simply entitled Before. And the pictures in here will all be celebrities before they were famous. So pictures of younger self celebrities. Same question for all the questions. All you have to do is identify the celebrity. So if we go through, question 1. Who is that celebrity? Now, with this being a picture round, we're not going to be repeating the pictures or coming back to them at the end of the round. There will be a minute's thinking time. So if you are unsure of any, then it's probably a good idea either to take a picture on your phone or a screenshot on your laptop, wherever you're watching on, and then you can always come back and have a look in that minute's thinking time. But we won't be coming back or showing the pictures again. So once it's moved on, it's moved on. So if you're unsure, take a picture, you can always come back to it. But moving on, question 2. One simple question again. Who is that celebrity? And to keep the pace going, question 3. Again, just simply name that celebrity. To keep ticking over, we're now going to question 4. One question again. Simply name that celebrity. And it's worth reminding as well, as ever on this, spellings of names, not that important. If it looks right, then it is right. Question 5. One simple question again. Which celebrity is that? And as per the first 2 rounds, again, there's a bonus question after this for 2 points when it comes to marking that's in some way related to the person in question 5. And the bonus question for this round, the before round, is: what year was this celebrity born? What year was this celebrity born? And again, we'll give 1 year either side. Two points when it comes to marking these. Remember, all the bonus questions worth 2 points. But moving on, back to the single point questions again in the picture round. One simple question, just name that celebrity. Question 7 in the picture round. Which celebrity is that? Some may be slightly easier than others here, but again, a reminder, if you're not sure on any, then do take a picture and you can always come back to it and have a quick last look in the minute's thinking time at the end of this round. And then after that minute's thinking time, we'll come back and mark the first 3 rounds. Three to go in the picture round. Question 8. What celebrity is that? Just 2 more in the picture round. Question 9 in the picture round. Once again, simply, who is that? And that brings us nicely to the last question in round 3, the picture round. One final question. Who is that? And that brings us to the end of the picture round. Like I say, now there'll be a minute to finalise any answers you were unsure of in that. But also, if you're unsure of any final answers in the first 2 rounds, geography and music, now's the time to fill in any blanks there, because after this minute, we'll be coming back to mark those first 3 rounds. Get an idea of the scores at the halfway mark, and then after that, we'll have a quick 5-minute break to go stretch your legs, let the dog out, whatever you need to do, and then we'll come back and do the final 2 rounds. But for the moment, a minute's thinking time on the clock to finalise answers for the first 3 rounds. A minute on the clock. Okay, so that's the final minute's thinking time over for those first 3 rounds. So hopefully you've all managed to leave no blanks, pop an answer in for all the questions, as it's time to start marking those first 3 rounds now. Now, I won't go through the questions on screen. I'll just be reading them out quickly and then reading the answers out. As I say, spellings and things, not too important. If it looks right and someone's made a couple of spelling mistakes or something, then it's still worth a point. So I'll mark these first 3 rounds and then we'll have a 5-minute break. During that time, I'll switch the live chat back on if you want to write down any comments, and always good to see your scores. Possible 36 points in these first 3 rounds. So anything 25 plus up to 30 be a good score. Anything higher than that, very, very good at this stage. Very good. But let's start the marking now. First round was geography. The first question, what is the most recent state to be added to the USA? Well, that is Hawaii. Hawaii back in 1959. Second question, name either of the 2 South American countries that have no coastline. Well, you could have had either Bolivia or Paraguay. Bolivia or Paraguay. So a point if you got either of those. Question 3, what is the longest river in Australia? That is the Murray River. The Murray River, some 1,600 miles long. Question 4, which 2 London boroughs begin with the letter E? Well, those 2 are Ealing and Enfield. Ealing and Enfield. Need both of those for the point. Both of those for the point. Question 5. Which European town gave its name to a treaty that symbolises closer economic links between European countries? Well, that is Maastricht. Maastricht. And again, that's one of the ones where spelling isn't going to be that important. If it looks like Maastricht, then it's worth the point. Single point for that. But then the follow-up to that is a bonus question for 2 points. In what year was this treaty signed? And what year was this treaty signed? Well, it was signed in February 1992. 1992. So a year either side of that. So if you had 1901, 92 or 93, the 2 points are yours. Back to the single points again though. Question 6. Bridgetown is the capital of which Caribbean island? It's the capital of Barbados. Single point for that. Question 6. Question 7, Magyar is the official language of which country? That is Hungary. Hungary. Question 8, which is the largest US state? Well, the largest state is Alaska. Alaska. 7 times the size of the UK, just Alaska. Question 9, in which European city is the headquarters of the Red Cross? Well, they are in Geneva. And then the final question in the geography round, on which island does the city of Copenhagen stand? Well, that is on the island Zealand. Zealand. So possible 12 points there in that first round geography. Just keep a little note of those and add it up as we go along. Still 2 more rounds to mark. Round 2 is music, so we'll go through those. First question was, who is the only artist to have ever won the Mercury Prize more than once? Well, that is PJ Harvey. PJ Harvey, who won it in 2001 and again in 2011. Question 2, name the singer who is the only person to have ever performed more than one James Bond theme song. Well, that is Shirley Bassey. Shirley Bassey, who performed for Goldfinger, Diamonds Are Forever, and Moonraker. Question 3, Liverpool FC signature song You'll Never Walk Alone stems from which musical? Well, that comes from Carousel. Carousel. Question 4, which piece of music accompanied Torval and Dean to Olympic gold success in 1984? Well, that was Bolero. Ravel's Bolero. Question 5, BTS, also known as the Bangtan Boys, are a boy band from which country? Well, they come from South Korea. South Korea. 1 point for that, but the bonus question for 2 points related to that, how many members are there in the band? Well, in BTS, there are 7 members. 7 members in BTS, so 2 points if you got that. Back to the single point questions. Question 6, who was the lead singer of the Animals? Well, that was the 79-year-old Eric Burdon. Eric Burdon. Question 7, the march entitled Liberty Bell was the title music for which TV comedy programme? Well, it's back in the day, that's Monty Python's Flying Circus. Monty Python's Flying Circus. Question 8, which actor and singer was born David Cook in Plaistow in 1947? Well, it's the 72-year-old David Essex. David Essex. Question 9, which current star of EastEnders represented the UK in Eurovision in 1991? Well, then it was Samantha Janus. Samantha Janus, now called Samantha Womack. Samantha Janus, or we'll take Samantha Womack. And the final question in the music round, which former One Direction member released Watermelon Sugar and Adore You? Well, with his worth of $80 million, that's Harry Styles. Harry Styles. So again, 12 points there for the music round. So to add that to your first round, running total of 24 so far, but 1 more round to mark. 1 more round to mark. And that was the picture round, so we'll just go through these quickly as well. First picture, that was a young Amy Winehouse. Amy Winehouse. Number 2, that was Freddie Mercury. Number 3, with the boater on, that was a young Tony Blair. Tony Blair. Number 4 was George Clooney. George Clooney. Number 5, the youngster doing his radio presenting, that's a young Ant McPartlin. Ant McPartlin, 1 point for that. And then a bonus question for 2 points related to that. What year was this celebrity born? So what year was Ant McPartlin born? Well, he was born in 1975. 1975. We are giving 1 year either side on that. So if you've got 1974, 75 or 76, the 2 points are yours. Back to the single points though, and question 6. Who was the ballet dancer there? That was Cheryl Cole. Cheryl Cole. Question 7. Who was the actor there? That was David Tennant. David Tennant. Question 8. That is Jodie Foster. Jodie Foster there. 2 to go. Question 9. That was now the 80-year-old Tina Turner. Tina Turner pictured there in her youth. And then the final picture, the young sportsman there, that is Andrew Freddie Flintoff. Freddie Flintoff. So that brings us to the end of the third round there as well. So again, 12 points available on that. So a total of 36 available for the first 3 rounds. What we'll do now, though, is have a 5-minute break. I'll put 5 minutes on the clock just for you to go and stretch your legs. As I say, let the dog out, have a drink, have a bite to eat, whatever you can do in 5 minutes. But I will leave the live chat live again, just so you can pop any comments on and scores. Like I say, anything above 25-30 will be a very good score at this stage. So I'll pop the live chat on and leave that rotating on screen. But 5 minutes on the clock, and we'll come back and do the final 2 rounds. But 5 minutes on the clock now to have a little break and leave live chat on. And see you in a bit. Okay, so that's a 5 minute break over, and seeing some of the scores that people have been putting on, and mid to high 20s, all very, very good. Higher than I thought it would be at this stage. So there's a potential for a good score of 45 plus, up to maybe 50 for some people. So that would be good to see. As I say, I think it was quite a hard quiz. But let's see how we get on with the final 2 rounds. 2 more rounds to go, and then final marking. Again, there'll be a minute at the end of each round as well if you're unsure. So same format as the first 3 rounds, but 2 more rounds remaining. The live chat's just been switched off as well now to avoid anyone putting any comments on or any answers on unnecessarily, but I will switch it on again at the end, leave it on for 5 minutes or so for people to put their final scores and comments on. But I think we'll get on with the quiz and move on to round 4. And round 4 this week is numbers. All the answers are simple numbers. First question in numbers is, how many letters are there in the Greek alphabet? How many letters are there in the Greek alphabet? Moving on, question 2 in the numbers round. How old was the subject of ABBA's Dancing Queen? How old was the subject of ABBA's Dancing Queen? And it's worth just remembering there is a minute's thinking time at the end of these last 2 rounds as well, so anything you're unsure of, do jot it down at the side of your answer sheet. You can always come back to it in that minute's thinking time at the end of both these rounds. Question 3 in the numbers round is, how many years did Tony Blair serve as Prime Minister of the UK? How many years did Tony Blair serve as Prime Minister of the UK? Question 4 in the numbers round is, if you subtract the number of sides on a heptagon from the number of sides on a dodecagon, what answer do you get? If you subtract the number of sides on a heptagon from the number of sides on a dodecagon, what answer do you get? One for you homeschoolers out there. Moving on, question 5 in the numbers round. How old were Brian Jones, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison and Kurt Cobain when they died? They're all the same age. How old were Brian Jones, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison and Kurt Cobain when they died? So it's 1 point for that question there, as ever, but then there's a bonus question following. That'll be for 2 points when it comes to marking. And the bonus question in the numbers round related to that question was, for 2 points, what year did Kurt Cobain die? What year did Kurt Cobain die? And again, we'll give a year either side of that as well. 2 points when it comes to marking there. What year did Kurt Cobain die? Back to the single point questions. Question 6 in the numbers round. On a standard dartboard, what is the lowest number that cannot be scored with a single dart? On a standard dartboard, what is the lowest number that cannot be scored with a single dart? Question 7 in the numbers round. How many players are on the field in one men's lacrosse team? How many players on the field in one men's lacrosse team? Three questions to go in the numbers round. Question 8 is, how many pawns are on the board at the start of a game of chess? How many pawns are on the board at the start of a game of chess? Just two more to go in numbers round. Question 9 is, what is the letter G worth in Scrabble? What is the letter G worth in Scrabble? And then on to the final question in the numbers round. Question 10. What number on the Beaufort scale represents a hurricane? What number on the Beaufort scale represents a hurricane? So that brings us to the end of round 4, the numbers round. As with the previous rounds, we'll now have a minute just to finalise any answers you're unsure of before we come back and do round 5, general knowledge, and then final marking. But for the moment, a minute on the clock. Okay, so that's the minute's thinking time over there for the numbers round, which brings us into the last round, which is ever round 5, general knowledge. So 10 more questions to go in the quiz before a minute's thinking time, then final marking. So question 1 in general knowledge is, what is Liverpool's main station? What is Liverpool's main railway station? Moving on, question 2. Colonel Paul W. Tibbets was a decorated US bomber pilot in World War II, but his mother's name is better remembered. What was her name? Colonel Paul Tibbets was a decorated bomber pilot in World War II, but his mother's name is better remembered. What was her name? Question 3 in general knowledge. Queen's Indian, Ruy Lopez, French, Sicilian Dragon, and Dutch are all famous examples of what? Queen's Indian, Ruy Lopez, French, Sicilian Dragon, and Dutch are all famous examples of what? Question 4 in general knowledge is, in which war did the Charge of the Light Brigade take place? In which war did the Charge of the Light Brigade take place? I'm going along at a good pace here, so it should be round about the hour in total for the quiz. So hopefully that hasn't eaten too much into your Tuesday evening. Question 5 in general knowledge. Which musician famously played on both sides of the Atlantic at the first Live Aid concert? Which musician famously played on both sides of the Atlantic at the first Live Aid concert? And as per the first 4 rounds, there's a bonus question in some way related to question 5. And the bonus question for 2 points in the general knowledge round is: what year was this concert? What year was this concert? And no leeway either side of this. No leeway either side. The exact year. What year was this concert? Live Aid concert. Two points when it comes to marking that again. But back to the single point questions again. Question 6 in general knowledge. 1961 was the last year to read the same upside down. When will be the next? 1961 was the last year to read the same upside down. When will be the next? So 1 point for that for question 6 again. But moving on, question 7. Who wrote The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Who wrote The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Just 3 questions to go in general knowledge and the quiz as a whole. Question 8 in general knowledge is: name 2 of the 4 countries in the Commonwealth of Nations that begin with the letter T. Name 2 of the 4 countries in the Commonwealth of Nations that begin with the letter T. So 2 of those 4 countries. Again, on these, spelling not overly important. At the end of the day, this quiz is just for fun. But we go to the penultimate question in the round and the quiz. Question 9. Words, crotons and autons have all appeared in which TV series? Words, crotons and autons have all appeared in which TV series? And that takes us on to the final question in the round and the quiz this week. Question 10 in general knowledge. Which licence was abolished in the UK in 1987 after 192 years? Which licence was abolished in the UK in 1987 after 192 years? So that brings us to the end of round 5, general knowledge. Now have a minute's thinking time just to fill in any blanks you had in that general knowledge round, but also the numbers round 2, round 4. So we'll be coming back to marking both those rounds after this minute to get an idea of final scores. But for the moment, a minute on the clock. Okay, so that's all the thinking time over. It's now on to marking those final 2 rounds to add to your earlier scores to get an idea of final scores. Once again, we'll just go through the answers without putting them on the screen, so I'll just go through the questions quickly. So round 4, numbers. First question, how many letters are there in the Greek alphabet? They are 24, all the way from alpha up to omega, 24 letters. Question 2, how old was the subject of ABBA's Dancing Queen? That was 17. 17. Question 3, how many years did Tony Blair serve as Prime Minister of the UK? Well, that was from 1997 to 2007. 10 years. 10 years he served as Prime Minister in his 3 election victories in that time. Question 4, if you subtract the number of sides of a heptagon from the number of sides on a dodecagon, what answer do you get? Well, that's 12 take away 7 is 5. 5 the answer there. Question 5, how old were Brian Jones, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, Jim Morrison and Kurt Cobain when they all died? Well, they were all 27 years old. 27 years old, 1 point for that. And then the bonus question related to that, for 2 points, what year did Kurt Cobain die? Well, he died on the 5th of April, 1994. Now, we'll give a year either side, so 1993, 1994 or 1995 gets you the 2 points on that. Back to the single point questions though. Question 6, on a standard dartboard, what is the lowest number that cannot be scored with a single dart? That is 23. 23 cannot be scored with a single dart. Question 7, how many players are on the field in one men's lacrosse team? Well, there are 10 players in a men's lacrosse team, 12 in the women's game. Question 8, how many pawns are on the board at the start of a game of chess? Well, there's 8 aside, so 16 pawns in total at the start. 16. Question 9, what is the letter G worth in Scrabble? It is worth 2 points. 2 points for the 3 G tiles that are in the bag. 2 points for letter G. And the final question, numbers. What number on the Beaufort scale represents a hurricane? It's represented by the number 12. Number 12, the wind speeds in excess of 73 miles an hour. 1 is classed on there as light air, but a hurricane is classed as 12. So 12 points available for that as well to add to your score as you go along. Keep a little tally of that. And then the final round, general knowledge or marking. Question 1. What is Liverpool's main railway station? Well, opening in 1836, that is Lime Street. Lime Street. Question 2. Colonel Paul Tibbets was a decorated bomber pilot in World War II, but his mother's name is better to remember. What was her name? Well, she was Enola Gay. Enola Gay Tibbets. And named the bomber the B-29 bomber that was the first to drop an atomic bomb. So Enola Gay, or Enola Gay Tibbets, if you give her her full name. Question 3. Queen's Indian, Ruy Lopez, French, Sicilian Dragon and Dutch are famous examples of what? Well, they are all chess openings. Chess openings. Question 4. In which war did the charge of the Light Brigade take place? Well, it was in 1854 in the Crimean War. Crimean War. Question 5. Which musician famously played on both sides of the Atlantic at the first Live Aid concert? Well, that was Phil Collins. Phil Collins. So 1 point for that. But the bonus question for 2 points related to that, what year was this concert? Well, it was in the news this week, so it might have been a prompt. It was in 1985, July the 13th, 1985, some 35 years ago. 2 points there, no year either side, because it was in the news recently, so hopefully you know that. 1985. Question 6 for 1 point. 1961 was the last year to read the same upside down. When will the next be? Well, that'll be a long way off. That's in 6009. 6009. Just 1 point for that. Question 7. Who wrote The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Well, that was Douglas Adams. Douglas Adams. Question 8. Name 2 of the 4 countries in the Commonwealth of Nations that begin with the letter T. You could have had Tanzania, Tonga, Trinidad and Tobago, or Tuvalu. So the 4 there, Tanzania, Tonga, Trinidad and Tobago, and Tuvalu. So 1 point if you got 2 of those. No bonus points for extras. 1 point if you got 2 of them. Question 9. Vords, Crotons, and Autons have all appeared in which TV series? Well, I think that's guessable. That is Doctor Who. Doctor Who. And then the final question. Which licence was abolished in the UK in 1987 after 192 years? Well, that was the dog licence. The dog licence, which at the time of its abolishment had a nominal fee of 37 pence. 37 pence when it was abolished in 1987. So that brings us to the end of the quiz, and the end of the quiz this week. What I'll do now is I'll leave the live chat open for 5 minutes or so, just for you to pop your comments on and pop your scores on, get an idea of how people have done. Say 5 minutes there. I think a score anything above 50 would be absolutely brilliant this week. 45 to 50 would be very, very good. Anything in 40 plus, still good. But for the moment, I'll just leave the live chat on. We'll be back next week on Tuesday, same time, same place. So look forward to seeing you then.